Hi you guys, hope you all are having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe and all the links will be down below. So I'm doing all about primers. I've continued the series. I've done all about setting sprays, eyeliners, powders. So I wanted to come in and now do primers. If you have no idea what this series is about, it's basically about general knowledge for people that may not be makeup artists or people that love makeup and have no idea what they're doing, and even for people that have never touched makeup but it interests them, or maybe they want to use something for like one night. That's what this series is about. It's for people that may not know as much. So it's not going to go into every nitty-gritty detail. It's going to give you the basics of what each product does, and it's basically just going to give you an overall view of it, and there's enough detail so you'll know how to use it. So let's get right into it. So for this, there are 5 types of primers. Yes, there are little subcategories for each one, but I could be here for probably an hour talking about it. So I'm going to talk about the 5 most basic ones, and let's get started. Now remember, a primer means to prime, so it's something that goes on first, and then you apply the foundation. Some people don't like using primers, and some people say they absolutely need it. It's on your personal preference, even though I have to say primers do tend to make a difference when it comes to texture. Every time you're adding one layer, such as moisturizer, primer, foundation, concealer, that's 4 layers right there. If you've never watched Wayne Goss's videos, you may not know that, but Wayne Goss always says that, and it's true. Primer does add texture, so you do not want to go overboard with the primer because sometimes it will not mesh with the foundation. For example, if you put too much primer on and then you apply foundation, your foundation is not going to glide smoothly. So just bear with caution when applying primer, and I'll show you the amount that you should be using. So the first product I'm talking about is hydrating primer, which a lot of people with very dry skin will use a moisturizer and a primer. That's fine. If you're really dry and you need to, that's fine. But people that don't have dry skin, or even maybe combination or just a little bit of dry skin, they might use a hydrating primer if they're wearing a very matte foundation. And a lot of times matte foundations can be too drying, even on people with normal to combination skin. For me, I usually use the Estee Lauder Double Wear. Now, does it say it's going to control oil? No. But for people that don't need that much coverage and don't need that mattifying power, it can be kind of like a mask on them. So that's when I feel like you should step into the hydrating primer to prep your face before you apply that foundation. Yes, it might keep you matte all day, but you don't want it to feel like it's a mask on your face. So that's why I always suggest getting a hydrating primer or using a really good moisturizer. Number 2 for primers has to be its pair with hydrating. A lot of people that have dry skin use this too, and it's like an illuminating or a luminous primer. The one I have here is the L'Oreal Magic Lumi. And this is basically, it says as a light and infusing primer. What I do with this is like one of the only things when it's illuminating that I can either add into my foundation or wear underneath the foundation. I do not highly recommend wearing this on top of your foundation because it will just eat away at your foundation. Saying I could apply this here or here, rub it in, blend it in, or pat it in, and then it kind of like my foundation isn't there, it blotches my foundation up. This is meant to be mixed in with foundation or underneath foundation. So on days that I feel like I need a little bit moisture to my skin, I will put 1 pump of this in my foundation. If I feel like I just want a little bit of a glow, I will apply it to the high points of my cheeks, and I kind of just wait for it to dry and then apply my foundation over it. So even though I have oily skin, doesn't mean I can't use this. And this is my favorite thing. It is a little bit pricey. I think it's like $11.99, $10.99 for a drugstore product, but it definitely does the trick. And I definitely need a new one because, as you can see, it's kind of like breaking down with water and stuff like that, but this is what it looks like, and then if you just keep blending it in, eventually it disappears, and you can, again, mix it into your foundation. Another illuminating primer I want to talk to you about, which is kind of funny that I'm showing you like more illuminating primers even though I am oily skin. It's that Gal. It's a brightening face primer by Benefit. I have a little sample size. I've had this for a while. I don't really use these as much, but it's the same concept as the L'Oreal one I just showed you. So if you want to try one that's maybe more high-end, try this one. Okay, now the next type of primer is a color correcting primer. Now this is something for, like a lot of people use this, they use like a green primer. Maybe because they have red, So the third one I am talking about is a color correcting primer. Now this is going to cancel out a color you have on your face. The most commonly known one is having a green color correcting primer. The reason people use green, again, is to cancel out red. On the color wheel, green and red are across from each other, so they're complementary colors, meaning when you add the 2 colors together, they neutralize or counteract. So if you have red skin, maybe from a chemical burn, acne, rosacea, hyperpigmentation, there are many causes to why your skin may be red. A lot of people add green to counteract it. Be careful with primers though, because if they're too overly pigmented, sometimes they leave a green cast. But more oftenly, they will neutralize the red and make your face look very kind of whitewashed. So just be careful when you use it. I know very good ones like Smashbox, the green one, sometimes can leave a little bit of a green cast, but if you blend it in properly, it won't. There are a lot of products out there that do the job. I know yellow counteracts purple, orange counteracts blue, yellow also can counteract some red. You just have to play around with it. So these primers are for people that have a lot of color to their skin. Maybe their skin is not one color, so they apply it to make your skin kind of one color, so when you apply the foundation on, it's less of foundation you need. So for me, if I have a lot of red marks, I don't tend to use a primer, but I use a green concealer. I apply it on my spots that are red, so when I put my foundation, it's less my foundation has to cover. The fourth one I'm talking about is a oil controlling one. Now this is something for me. I do not actually own a oil control primer, meaning something that actually has the words oil control on it. But I don't actually own an oil controlling primer because the primer I'm going to show you does the trick for me. Now, for an oil controlling primer, this is something that you want to focus here, 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 and maybe even here. It's to control the oil underneath the foundation so the oil does not come up to the surface. Is it going to completely get rid of your oil? No. But it's going to help prevent it from coming sooner, and it's going to help prevent it from it coming to the surface. And again, I don't really suggest you putting oil controlling primer all over your face, because are you oily over here? If you are, go right ahead. But for me, I'm a little bit dry on the sides, so I don't do that. But that is the fourth primer. Now the fifth primer that I'm going to talk about is my one I've been using for years. I bought a sample size because if you get 3 sample sizes, it's $1 or $2 less and then tax on top of it that you save, and you get, I think, 0.5 milligrams more. And this is the POREfessional by Benefit. Now this primer is something, and which is actually the fifth primer. It helps reduce the size of your pores, size of fine lines, and I'm going to show you how much that you should be using. So I just use a little bit, which is how much you should use for any primer. And basically with this primer, what I do is I take it, because it's a little bit silicone-y, and I just pat it into the places that I need it. So I do not put it all over my face. I just put it here, 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 and a little bit here, because that's where my biggest pores are. And what it does is it helps reduce the look of your pores, and it really does work. A lot of people don't like it. Maybe it's a silicone feel. I'm not exactly sure, but I love it, and I feel like it does reduce the look. And does it completely get rid of my pores? No, but it doesn't make them so obvious, and it doesn't let the foundation sink into the pores. So that's why I absolutely love this, and you can pick this up for $10 as a sample at Sephora, and you can decide, because it does give you a good amount of product. And this usually lasts me like a couple months. I don't use primer every day, but this is my most commonly used primer. So those are the 5 types of primers: hydrating, illuminating, color correcting, oil controlling, and one that reduces the size of pores. And if you are looking for any primers, I just wanted to add this. Makeup Forever has all those step 1, like this whole line of step 1 primers. Try those. You kind of like pick out which primer that you need, so definitely check those out if you're looking for something in the high-end brand. If not, the drugstore does have a few good primers out there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to continue the series, just let me know. I hope you all have a great day, and don't forget to subscribe.